like no matter how many iterations of it we watch, a diamond heist or a heist film in general is still pretty interesting as a premise. But kabhi-kabhi, films lure you in with an interesting premise, great actors, and then deliver absolutely nothing. Hi, I'm Pratiksha Mishra and you're listening to my review of Jewel Thief. Jewel Thief takes its name from the Dev Anand classic, but it could not be more far off. And not just in story. We know this is not a remake. I'm just talking about quality. That film is a classic. This one is interesting. The best thrillers either make you feel like an idiot or they let you live out your armchair detective dreams. It's almost fun, a kind of push and pull between the director and the audience. Can you guess this? And you're happy that, wow, I figured this out just seconds before the film told me. Anyway, that is a good thriller. But then there are thrillers that are so predictable that it's not a push and pull anymore, it's just disappointing. Jaideep Ahlawat honestly looking fantastic in those crisp cut suits, and also one of the people who has drawn a lot of people to this film, especially because of that little dance sequence of his that essentially went viral. He is an actor jinko aap kuch bhi de do. Even if you give him like a few lines of character, he will build it. He will elevate it to so much more. But here, even his earnest effort doesn't work that much. And he is trying, as this criminal mastermind Rajan Aulak, he's trying his best to make this character memorable. And while his craft is very obvious in the screen, it's just that the character is just too paper thin to make a difference. But Aulak is our messy, menacing catalyst. He decides that he wants to get his hands on the Red Sun, a very rare, exquisite, beautiful, expensive diamond, and he decides that the man for this job is Saif Ali Khan's character Rehan Roy. Now Rehan is a globetrotting thief and apparently very good at his job, but ऐसा कोई code नहीं है, कोई safe नहीं है जो उन्होंने crack ना किया हो, except there is one thing that he doesn't have in his life, and that is love. And love he shall find when he meets Farah, played by Nikita Dutta, who is Rajan's very mysterious and very alluring wife. And obviously, because this is a Bollywood film that is so predictable, we know exactly what's going to happen. Sparks are going to fly between these two characters, the only issue being that they have barely written Farah's character. Yes, we know that she's a painter. Yes, we know that she's in an abusive marriage. And yes, we know she's the damsel in distress who's going to be saved by this jewel thief. But other than that, there is practically nothing. And it's honestly a pity because there are moments where you can see that Nikita Dutta as the actor is ready for a scene to come through where she can actually showcase her talent. The pity, of course, again, is that the scene just does not arrive. But of course, the typical Bollywood moments do not end. How could they ever? There is so much Bollywood to go and so much they could pick up without giving us anything new at all. And that's why Rehan gets the estranged father's sob story. His father is upset because unka beta chor nikla. How is that possible? His father obviously is adarshwadi, and that has in essence to Rehan at least ruined their life. And then there is the silent spectator younger sibling, again completely wasting Gagan Arora as an actor. But yeah, there we go. You get typically exactly what you expect from this film. And that is the main issue with Jewel Heist. It is so predictable, it's barely even fun. And a thriller, a heist has to be at least fun, because sure, itni heist movies dekh chuke hain hum, it is difficult maybe to come up with a heist movie where nothing is predictable, fair enough, but it has to be fun, it has to be engaging. And there are moments where all the actors trying as hard as possible are making you feel like, okay, shayad is movie mein aur thoda kuch hai. Maybe this movie will surprise me now. Maybe in the last 10 minutes something is going to happen where I'll be like, okay, cool, didn't see that coming. Not that that would change the viewing experience, but it will still give you something to hold on to. But again, that's mostly the actors' efforts and the writing is not helping them. Now, of course, in this Chor Sipahi ka khel, we have met the Chor. So who is the Sipahi? Of course, that's Kunal Kapoor as the cop, who is constantly one step behind the criminals. Now, okay, this is not a spoiler because this film at no point tells you it is smart enough to actually give you any high stakes. And that is why even when there is tension, it feels manufactured, it feels forced. For instance, our trusty gang of criminals do somehow manage to create a fake medical emergency, और उस medical emergency के चलते वो pilot को convince कर देते हैं कि can you please divert this plane to the nearest airport, which is Istanbul. पर ये plan successful होने के बाद they then blackmail the pilot to essentially land the plane in a separate nearby location. And I don't understand, if you had blackmail material, why not just start with that? Why is there one plan with two different phases to essentially accomplish the same goal? It makes no sense. And then the film proceeds and you realize why they did that. They wanted to manufacture some tension in a later fight sequence. The film does not always have to make sense. Sometimes films are so interesting that even when there are plot holes, you ignore them because maza bahut aa raha hai. I found myself thinking of Bullet Train. That film is so fun to watch that I don't even remember if there were any loopholes, and I'm sure there might have been. Even when it essentially devolves into nonsense, it just doesn't matter because the film was fun. And the film is not not a horrible film. It's not like unwatchable. Yes, parts of it are still interesting. They're still engaging. And like I said, the performances are really working. Saif Ali Khan as Rehan, for example, has that kind of cheeky swagger that he brings to his roles, especially to the race films. And he brings enough of a difference in the two characters because Rehan has more of a rustic charm as compared to his characters in race. And that differentiation works. It does. But even Saif Ali Khan cannot make some of these dialogues work. They are so cheesy. I cannot listen to the line, "We will steal the red sun in the Gagan," and take it seriously no matter who is delivering it. And that's another issue with Jewel Thief. The dialogues are so corny. They're so cheesy. And without actually completely leaning into a nonsense aspect, the dialogues just stand out very horribly. The other issue is the pacing, and mostly because of the editing. The editing in this film feels way too choppy. It just feels randomized. I understand the need to use juxtaposition. It's an editing trick that is as old as time, and I get that that is what the film is trying to do here, but even those weird jump cuts just do not make sense क्योंकि या तो बहुत कुछ हो रहा है या बहुत कम हो रहा है, and that balance is completely absent. Jewel Thief में chaos है, काफी हद तक है, action sequences भी हैं, and even though they're not very well shot, some of them are actually quite fun to watch, but despite all of that, the film is just repetitive. Not just as a film, but as a concept. ये हम पहले देख चुके हैं, हम पहले पढ़ भी चुके हैं. There is so much in the story that you can just kind of predict. So towards the end of it, I could not bring myself to care whether they get the diamond or not. I just was wondering how they will possibly take the story into a sequel. And that is why my rating for Jewel Thief is 2 stars out of 5.